Hello and welcome to GeekVerse Sidequest, your weekly stop for video game news, reviews, and more here on the GeekVerse Podcast Network. I'm your host, the Adam Hartcaster Dilemmas, and today I have with me the Fall Guy himself, Kirklin Patzer. Have you been playing some Fall Guys? Is that where that name comes from?
No, I realized that's already a name for a game when I made that name. It just, fall preview. Feel like I'm just feeling like a fall guy. I'm wearing the sweater. I'm getting ready for that fall weather. I feel like most of the time in the summertime too, I'll buy like fall clothes that's just way too hot to wear, and then I'm like just waiting for that fall time to come around because we're in September now. It's been an awesome summer, but I'm excited for some cooler wet weather. But no, I have played Fall Guys. I don't think I've ever won a game. I know Shay has won a game, so she's the victor in our household. But yes,
yeah, I've only played it a couple times. When it finally went free to play is when I jumped in there, which I think was recently. It was a couple months ago, and I think I only played a couple games, so I haven't got a win yet, but I should get back in there. And I think when I get one win, that's when I'd sunset my career. I'd move on to another
beat the
thing,
game. You don't have to keep playing, You roll
It's a fun
credits.
Yeah, wouldn't that be funny if that happens? Does that happen when you roll and get
I don't think
credits?
so. I think it just says Victory. Victory.
Victory.
What a weird way to say that. And then it just
roll.
brings you back to the screen with some unlockables that you got to, just keep that dopamine rush going, so it makes you want to keep playing.
Well, speaking of that, we have a lot to talk about today. We have a full episode of Sidequest. We're going to talk about the games we've been playing. We got some news, and we got a main topic. And we got a little precursor to all that as well. So let's get right into it. First of all, some shout-outs. Make sure to join that GeekVerse Discord. It's a good time to do that. Always talking about all these shows that are going on a weekly basis, fun stuff like that. And Patreon, perfect time to join as well, because there's just going to be a lot happening in the next couple months here. We got episodes that are going to be coming out early. Out of Mana, episode 11 will be up there early by maybe a week or so. So you can get that later this week if you would like. And, just ad-free early episodes in general. So go check that out. Thank you to Taylor for doing the thumbnails and Amanda who does the music. And so here's the landscape of Out of Mana for the next, or not Out of Mana, Sidequest for the next week, is that later this week, I believe Friday, is the Disney Marvel showcase thing. They have their game. They have, of course, their D23 regular event, but they also have the gaming one this year. So we're going to be covering that on, I believe, Friday. And then on, I think, Saturday or Sunday is Ubisoft doing a showcase of their own. So that'll be the next week's episode of SideQuest. And like I said, Out of Mana is being recorded this week, so that will be up on Patreon early, and then it should be sometime next week or maybe the week after for the free feed. So check that stuff out. And then, which, like I said, a lot of TV shows. We got She-Hulk going on. We got Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, and House of Dragons. And then when does Andor start? That's in a couple weeks here too, right? It's in September,
that's coming up. That's if it's not this coming up week, it's next week, I think. That one creeped right up on us, eh? I guess it was supposed to be out already in August, and then it got delayed. But no, I'm excited to jump on those.
You might be... I guess you're going to be covering all 4 of those shows, so you will be in it heavy. I'm
the TV show
I'm not there
guy.
for House of Dragons. I'm not there for Andor, so it's manageable for me. But for you, that's intense. On top of just other casts, newscasts, side quests, all that stuff. You've got a lot going on here.
Absolutely. I'm, as your favorite line, I'm like too much butter or not enough butter over too much bread. My gosh, I butchered the line.
No, we don't got to bring that quote over here. Leave that in the Lord of the Rings perspective. Anything else? Any casts that you want to shout out here, Kirkland?
No, I think you got them all. Just so much content. Travis is killing it with his Travis Told You So's. I don't know how he's keeping up with like I feel like he's only missed like one of them. He's been killing it daily for about 5 weeks.
I guess that's a bit done now though. Now that September has rolled around, so that was a fun month. And then who knows? Maybe I'm sure they'll come back in some way as well. Yeah. So keep your eyes open for that. I wanted to, before we get into our main topic, I want to talk about this. We recently put a feedback survey out there. That everyone who listens to the show, listens to GeekVerse, listens to SideQuest, all that stuff, could go in there and leave some feedback. What do you like? What do you don't like? What do you want to see? That kind of stuff. And I think we're going to do a more formal like town hall thing that we usually do every once in a while. But I want to address the SideQuest specific things. So also, if you want to provide more feedback, I love feedback. Give it all to me. If you missed the survey for this, it's never too late. Drop your thoughts in the YouTube chat or in a 5-star review or DM it to us, whatever it is. It's all good. I will consider that stuff as well. But I want to address a few things because we did have a SideQuest specific part in that survey that people made some comments on. So, first of all, I just want to thank everyone who did take the time to fill that out. It's, sometimes we record these podcasts, and I see that people are listening to them, but then there's like not that many comments or something. So I just, I don't know what people are thinking of things, but a lot of people said some really nice stuff. So thank you to everyone who did that. That's very kind and sweet of you. But yeah, some more specific things. A couple people mentioned that they want to see more retrospectives over here on Sidequest, and that is in the works. This year we have A Plague Tale, which me and Kirklin are going to be retroing, and then God of War 2018 in preparation for Ragnarok. That I am playing now. I'm about 3 or 4 hours in, so I've started that. So those are 2 retros we're going to be doing this year, and then next year I plan to roll that out in a bigger way. I'm not going to announce which games yet, but I have a few ideas for some things that kind of correlate to big releases that are happening next year, and maybe some other shows and things like that. So more retrospectives are coming. I'm glad that people are going to be interested in that when they do finally come. Someone mentioned MultiVersus. Like, well, I want to see more MultiVersus content, and that is fair. Me and you did a kind of review of the beta period, but since the game actually is fully released, we haven't talked about it, and that's truthfully because like August was just so slamming busy for me. I hadn't jumped back in. But we will be talking about MultiVersus today, and I do plan to cover that more regularly as I will be checking out new characters and such, but we'll talk about more about that a bit later. People liked the Lord of the Rings episode we did, Kirklin, and I think people want more episodes like that are not just talking about one game or one retrospective, but just kind of looking at a whole swath of games altogether. Someone mentioned Star Wars. They want to see some more of like an episode like that, which is talking about all the Star Wars games, things like that. So we'll definitely keep that in mind. We'll do more of that. And we also do have more Lord of the Rings stuff coming out. Me and Travis are going to talk about that Embracer Group acquisition in a bit of a deeper way in, I think, 2 weeks, 2 weeks from now on SideQuest. So look forward to that. People like the indie games. I like to see all the coverage of indie games. That will not stop. I'm always playing hundreds of indie games. So, yeah, I'm always going to be talking about that. People want to see more news, which I think is actually a fair criticism for the show. I think sometimes there has been bigger news items that I've just not discussed at all on here. And I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's because I feel like, by the time it's on SideQuest, maybe it's a bit outdated. Or I guess, one thing, truthfully, I feel like is if people want gaming news like up to date, there's so many other places to get that as well. So I'm trying to maybe carve a bit of a niche and talk about things that maybe are a bit more unique. But of course, the news is important as well. So I'll try and cover more day-to-day news as well as like the showcases, which we always cover as well. Some specific things. Someone mentioned like that they play Oculus and they want to maybe see some VR stuff. No one over here at GeekVerse has VR, so I don't think that one's going to happen. I would like to at some point in my life, but I don't think we'll be doing that in the near future, unfortunately. And yeah, I think, for SideQuest in general, the format seems like people are liking it for what it is. And I think it will stay pretty much the same for the rest of this year at least. And then I think maybe next year we'll roll out some more changes, maybe additional shows, maybe more of those retrospectives that I mentioned. So maybe you'll hear more about that, I'd say, in the new year. But I think for right now, we have so many games coming out, as we'll talk about, in September, October, November, and even in December as well. So we'll be pretty busy just talking about that stuff and these showcases and whatnot. So yeah, that was kind of a little bit of a encompassing stuff from the survey there. So once again, thank you everyone who took the time to fill some of that stuff out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, moving on. Let's talk about some of the games we've been playing. I see that you got here Warhammer 3 on your list, Kirklin. So I know you're talking about that DLC recently that dropped.
Yes.
So what's going on in the Warhammer world?
Man, I've been totally engulfed. It's been one of those things where like last week was my first week of school, but the week prior to that, I just had a week off, and then it was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna jump in here, probably just get engulfed for like 2 days, and then I'll jump into Plague Tale. We're doing our retro for that. You mentioned it, and I just have not been able to stop with it. Like it's literally been like 2 weeks straight of just completely being engulfed, and yeah, I'm just so blown away with like what they're able to achieve and pull off. And obviously, like there is some like bugs here and there. It is still in like the beta version, but yeah, no, it's been so fantastic, and just like the whole world that they're able to achieve. Like I think there's like 275 factions when you like start the game.
Oh my
it's
God,
absolutely
that's
crazy.
insane.
Yeah, and yeah,
Wow.
no, they absolutely killed it. But it is still like the beta tag, but like even just this is so fantastic. So yes, I'm at a stage where I feel like I'm pretty happy with my campaign progress, that I'll probably just bench it for now. Maybe this week I'll jump into Plague Tale, get ready for record that retro. But no, it's been like the one game that I've really just been totally glued to these last 2 weeks.
Nice. That's awesome. I've still been meaning to jump in there since that stuff's on Game Pass. I want to at least try my hand on it. I know it's something kind of a big deal to jump into it since there's so much to it, but at some point I will inevitably do that. Yeah, I got a couple games I want to shout out. One, it's 2 Point Campus. This came out in August, earlier in August. I haven't had a chance to talk about it, and I've been checking it out. It's over on Game Pass there. I'm curious, Kirklin, are you a tycoon guy at all? Do you like these like kind of simmy tycoon games, Roller Coaster Tycoon, any of those sorts of things?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Nice.
That was, I think I had got one of those in like a cereal box way back in the day, but no, I love Roller Coaster Tycoon. Even The Sims is like, I know it's a different type of thing, but it feels like it. So no, I've definitely, even like Zoo Tycoon, I've been meaning to jump into the Jurassic Park one, whatever that one, like Taylor's covered it before. I forget what it's called, but yeah, no, I love tycoon games.
Sweet. Yeah, so 2 Point Campus, I haven't played. 2 Point Hospital was their first game. This is the second one, which has a school setting, obviously. And I'm enjoying it so far. It's a very goofy game. It's not very realistic. You could say like the characters look funny and they have weird names like Shirley Deluxe and like Brenda Roadkill. Like they just weird ass names. It's very silly. And even like the classrooms are like you in like the cooking class, it's like you get this huge, they're making like giant hamburgers like the size of a room, like just weird stuff like that. But in terms of like just the gameplay of it and those tycoon mechanics of, you know, building out the structure and then like putting the classrooms there, making sure you have enough, you know, bathrooms and dorms for everyone, and then you can get like additional study halls. You got to get libraries in there and hire assistants and get your janitors, get your professors, and pick them. You know, do I want to get more expensive one who's a bit better, or just go like cheap and get like someone who just to fill the role at this kind of time. And it's cool because you're trying to, you know, of course, trying to keep those satisfaction levels up that all these games have, but there's the added layer of trying to build the campus in a way such that the grades of your students is high and you don't want people to drop out and things like that. You have running a lot of events and stuff like that. So if anyone's into those kinds of games, I definitely recommend this one. And I'm sure 2 Point Hospital is also just as good as this, but it's just very fun. And like the music is fucking amazing. It's like some of the best gaming music I've heard this year. So I'm definitely going to be talking about that later in the Game of the Year episode when we talk about music. It's so good. Like just this kind of nice jazzy music that fits with just kind of getting lost and tycooning it out for a couple hours there. So definitely wanted to shout this one out on Game Pass. So definitely worth checking out for those.
That's awesome.
For people interested in that.
2 Point Hospital, I was eyeballing that on Steam. I definitely was looking for something in that vein, and it just looked very goofy and silly in that regard, but you know, still scratches that tycoon itch.
Yeah, definitely. And then MultiVersus. So I've actually been playing this weekend. I jumped in finally after a good couple months. I've been checking out the new stuff. I guess since we talked about the game, Kirklin, they've added LeBron James as a character. They've added Morty from Rick and Morty. Rick's on the way. And I think they added one more, but maybe... Oh, Iron Giant. He officially has joined the roster now as well, so he's in there. And I don't know if you've seen, but Iron Giant is literally a giant. Like, he's like 2 or 3 times as tall as like the other characters, which you would think, like, how does that work? But somehow it does. It's pretty cool. So, yeah, it's been fun to get back in there. I still have my issues with the game in terms of its, like, the control and kind of how flaily it feels at times, but it's still really fun. Like, these movesets that they made for these characters are just so in-depth. Like, they really brought these movesets to life and, you know, really showing love for the source material. I think the character that stood out to me the most is Morty. I picked him up, and I've been playing a lot of him. He's really fun, got a mixture of like close range stuff, but then he also has this kind of weird mechanic where you can throw a bomb, and then you have a gun that you can shoot at any point, but if you have a bomb on the map, like your gun will kind of home into your bomb. So you shoot the bomb that kind of makes like a bit of a chain reaction on the opponent. But then also he has this move where you kind of like spawn this rock, this stalagmite that comes out of the ground and erupts into the opponent. So if you throw a bomb and then spawn a stalagmite to hit the bomb, it splits the bomb into 2, and then you can shoot both of them and just get like this chain reaction across the whole map. Oh my god. He gets like this UFO that as for his recovery move that you can stand on. So really, really fun character. Like they've done a good job with him. I'm a fan of that show as well, so it's fun to have another character from a show that I'm enjoying. And I haven't checked out the other new characters. I messed around with Iron Giant in the training mode, but I don't have the coins to afford all these characters. But it's been fun to just play a lot more teams matches. Me and Saris have been playing together. He's
nice.
We've kind of been doing like he's on Finn and I'm on Morty, and that's like our good combo right now. It's working pretty well for us because he's like up in their face with Finn. I'm just kind of chilling in the back, throwing tons of projectiles, being super annoying. So that's been kind of fun to get back in there and see what's new in that game, because they're rolling out content like in an extremely efficient way. I wonder if it's like, okay, they built up this runway so that they could release stuff for a few months, or if they just have the pipeline to make characters so fast that they're able to do it. I'm curious to see how quickly they can, or how much they can keep up this pace of releasing a new character like every 2 or 3 weeks, or multiple characters a month at least. So I know we have a couple characters coming out later this month that we'll talk about in the news section, but yeah, it's been fun to jump back in MultiVersus. Do you plan on booting it up again in the near future?
Yeah, I got to get in there. That's something that I just haven't had. I mean, I've just been so preoccupied with Warhammer these last 2 weeks. I haven't even like thought about MultiVersus. But yeah, no, I got to get back in there, especially now that it's like actually out. I really want to try out the Iron Giant, because I love that movie as a kid, and just seeing the way that they tackled like a giant character, whereas like in Smash, like they have like, I guess, some different sizes of characters, but not to that extent where it's
definitely.
actually like a full double the size or whatever it is. So yeah, no, I'm excited to jump back in there, and it's awesome that they keep pushing out content in that regard, because I just feel like having that Warner Brothers tag, there's so many great IPs and things that they can pull from to just making that game dynamic and awesome.
Yeah. So speaking of that, let's roll right into the news then, because we want to talk about some MultiVersus things. So first of all, as I mentioned, new characters. Gizmo, which is a Gremlins character, is coming. I think they just delayed him actually a couple days to the 9th. It was originally September 6th, but now he's coming September 9th, I believe. So this is actually another thing too. They delayed Rick. They delayed him by like a couple weeks or something. Like, it's nice that their delays aren't like, okay, we'll see you in a year with Rick. It's like they got a good pipeline there. So I'm very excited to see this Gremlins character. I've seen the original movie, but not want to have much affiliation for, but just like, even they've shown like the art for him, and it like just looks super fun. Like, I feel like that's a character I'm gonna want to check out, and I'm sure he'll have some very goofy movesets. Maybe you can summon some other gremlins to do some annoying shit. So I'm very excited for that character. He looks like a lot of fun. And then we know that Black Adam and Rick from Rick and Morty are on their way as well. I think Black Adam will probably be timed pretty close to the movie, and Rick, I don't know. I think they said he's coming out later in September. So does any of those three characters move the needle for you? Get you excited?
Yeah, I'm curious just how, like, what you mentioned with like Gizmo's kit is gonna look like, because I never at any point in my life thought that I would be playing like a Smash like game with a Gremlins character in there,
it's pretty weird.
and just like how much goofiness is around the character, or if they try and just like, I don't know, really play into that fact of like multiple Gremlins is like an overpowering thing, quantity over quality, right? Yeah, no, I and then like Rick, absolutely, I'm excited for just I haven't seen like much of Rick and Morty, but from what I have seen, he's just such a hilarious character, and just some of the like the joke items that are around him, how they incorporate that into his kid. I'm excited for that for sure.
Yeah, like for Morty, I don't know if you've seen this episode of Rick and Morty where they're talking about the plumbus, which is just like I don't even know what it is, just some weird ass device, and they just go through all this over explaining what it is, and it's just some weird little handheld device. But then they've incorporated that in Morty's moveset, where he's like scrubbing the ground with it, and so you can like cleanse your teammates if they have like an armor break or whatever, like debuff on them. But then also just like hits enemies as well. So yeah, I mean, I'm very excited to see what other weird ass shit they do for Rick, considering that they are making these characters pretty authentic to the source material. One thing though that's a bit of a bummer for me, and none of this is confirmed, but you know, one thing that we talked about early on with MultiVersus was there was a leaked image of Gandalf, which, you know, is kind of the sketchy 480p image. It was like a screenshot of the game. They never officially announced this, but it seemed like, okay, Gandalf's probably on the way. And I know S-Bubs was deep in the community in terms of looking at like data mining and stuff like that, and there was a lot of files in the game for Lord of the Rings stuff. But it looks like that might not happen anymore. One reason being that Embracer Group had like bought the Lord of the Rings rights, obviously, so who knows how far along they were with MultiVersus, if they can still release that stuff legally. But then also it looks like that one of Gandalf's moves, which would be like him rising up on the eagle or something, which would be his recovery move, apparently that was taken and like moved over to Morty, and then they turned it into a UFO and made it that move. So that's, who knows, like maybe that's the thing they often do, or they're like, okay, let's take this move that is similar to what we want, we'll copy paste it and then make the changes. So I don't know, it might be going a bit too tinfoil hat on this, but I guess at this point I would feel surprised if we get Lord of the Rings stuff, because I just think if they were going to release that, timing it with Rings of Power would have been a really good time.
Yeah.
Considering they're doing that for Black Adam, I would think they'd want to do it for this as well. So it looks like Lord of the Rings might not be coming anymore. And to me, that's a huge disappointment, honestly. That was the IP I was most looking forward to see. I really want to see Gandalf. And honestly, that was like, for me, I was like, that's where I'm spending money. I will give you however much money you want for me to get the Gandalf the White skin, to get these different characters, get these different like voice lines, and Gandalf as the announcer, all that stuff. And so I don't know how long I'll be invested now. I know that is maybe unfortunate to say because it's like they don't really have control over that. But to me, it is kind of a bummer. I know, obviously, you're a big Lord of the Rings guy as well. So does this hurt your excitement at all? Or do you think that maybe I'm just getting too in the weeds here? Maybe there is a chance that it still comes.
There's always a chance, right? As the old saying goes. There's always hope. No, this is a big bummer. That was definitely the number one IP that I was looking forward to, MultiVersus. I completely agree with you. I could easily see myself dropping some microtransaction money at that if I was just getting, like, again, just Lord of the Rings theme stuff, whether it's the announcer pack, more costumes or different characters. Because yeah, exactly. Like I love Lord of the Rings enough to like want to do that, and then just hearing this news, and because of the Embracer Group acquisition, like it's not looking great. Because as you mentioned, like if they did have it ready, because like even thinking back to like that leak 480p shot that you were talking about, like if Gandalf was already there, you would have thought that they would really want to pitch that with Rings of Power, just get a lot of buzz and hype around it. So it is unfortunate, but at the end of the day, I feel like there is still hope for like my excitement with MultiVersus moving forward, because Warner Brothers just has so many different properties that they can pull from. So, I don't think it's like the nail in the coffin by any means, but that's definitely a big kick in the derriere. So I'm a little bit bummed out by that, but I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I hope they can get the Harry Potter stuff locked in. That would be nice. I think once again, timing that with Hogwarts Legacy would be pretty cool. That stuff seems as well, like rights wise, it's probably an issue, even though it's within the Warner Bros. Office. But there's still those other people that got to sign off on that, obviously. So hopefully they can do that one, because that would be another big one for me in terms of IP, getting some music and all that good stuff would be pretty sweet.
Oh, absolutely.
So yeah, we'll report back on MultiVersus. I am definitely going to check out this Gremlins character, so maybe next week I'll talk about it again and when he's finally released, and can report back on that. But let's take our first ad break here. We'll come back, and we got some other news topics to tackle. We are back. Speaking of acquisitions, there's an acquisition that, to me, I barely saw anyone talk about this. I feel like it kind of went under the radar, which is that Quantic Dream has been acquired by NetEase. Quantic Dream, you will know as the creators of Heavy Rain, Beyond Two Souls, Detroit Become Human. Now, a lot of people, including myself, would think like, oh, doesn't Sony own that? What's going on there? But no, they were never actually owned by Sony. They just kind of had like a publishing deal, or I think it was probably just game-to-game basis. These games did well enough that PlayStation's like, yeah, sure, we'll fund in some part your next game, make it exclusive on our platform. And yeah, I think all those games... Is Detroit on PC now? I feel like it still isn't. I think every Quantic Dream game has been a PlayStation exclusive to this point, or at least those big three that I just mentioned. So while Kirklin looks that up...
it is on Steam. There you go.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
What, does it have a release date? Does it say when that came out?
I'll keep looking.
Okay.
Back to you on that one.
Yeah, because I don't remember hearing them. I guess that kind of slid under the radar for me as well. But yeah, NetEase is one of the... You got it there. What's that?
June 18th, 2020. So it's been out for a few years.
Oh my god,
now.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting.
Definitely
I guess that's one that, like, whenever like a Spider-Man or something hits, you see all like, here's all these crazy mods that people have done. But I guess with Detroit, like, what are people going to do with
There's
that?
probably a Shrek mod for one of the... I would imagine for the alien... Or not the aliens, the robots.
yeah, for Connor. So there you go. You can go play it on Steam as well. But anyway, yeah, NetEase is one of these giant Chinese mega tech companies that is kind of equally, I would say, ambiguous as like an Embracer Group at times. But yeah, I wanted to bring this up because I'm really curious what this means for the future of Quantic Dream's games in terms of, I mean, in the article it says that they plan on, like, they're going to let them do their own, like, continue doing their own thing. That probably won't have much overhead from NetEase. And maybe it'll just give them more resources and potentially expand the team, work on multiple projects at the same time. But, you know, I'm mainly bringing this up because I'm just curious about the PlayStation exclusivity part of things anymore. If they don't need that PlayStation money to get their games published now, assuming that NetEase can cover that. I assume that these games are going to come to all platforms in the future, Steam, Xbox, and PlayStation at least, for the future of this. Now, maybe the Quantic Dream's already pretty far in their next game, as I think Detroit original on PlayStation came out in 2018, I want to say, so it's been out for a while now. Maybe their next game is already signed paper. PlayStation may be working on some exclusivity there, so we'll, remain to be seen what happens there. But yeah, what do you think of this acquisition? It's an interesting one, right?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I feel like the biggest takeaway for me from this news is what you mentioned about like possibly not being so tied to PlayStation moving forward. And I think that helps like the studio, because just more people can access their games right away. Because even if you're on PC, if you're right that it did come out in 2018, like that's still 2 years after if you're on PC, right, to get your hands on it. And a lot of the time maybe people just like the buzz dies down. Like that's a long time, honestly. 2 years. A lot of other games would be coming out like from that time. I also feel just like, yeah, just even for like game of the year discussions, I feel like it's always better if you just have more people playing it for more just word of mouth and their own experiences with it. So I think that's awesome. I love when games are just accessible on all sorts of different consoles, so that I'm all for that news. But like that's not confirmed by any means, so we'll see what happens. But yeah,
I guess it was Star Wars Eclipse, right? It was the next game that we know they're working on. So I'm very curious to see the exclusivity on that, because I think that was announced at a PlayStation State of Play. So we'll see what happens there. I would imagine that one would be. I mean, I'm looking at publisher. This doesn't look like Sony actually is publishing that one. So maybe that one will be coming to everything. And maybe we already knew that. Maybe I'm just out of the loop on that. We'll see. But then I was also looking at this too, because I know that Quantic Dream also has been doing some publishing. They published a game in 2021. And then they have 2 more games that have been announced. One was called Under the Waves that me and Travis talked about in the recent Jeff Keighley showcase, where they showed that off. That game looked really cool. And so that's being published by Quantic Dream. So I'm curious also to see how much of the publishing side of the company, which is a very like a new thing for them, I'm curious to see how much that is done. Because if NetEase is like, no, we just want you making games, we don't care about you publishing these, we can do that kind of thing. I'd be curious to see the future of that as well, because the 3 games that they have published, at least 2 of them that I'm familiar with, are cool games, very unique, and have a certain vibe to them. So it'd be cool just to keep an eye on what Quantic Dream is supporting. Who knows how far publishing, if they're helping out in some way beyond that, maybe not like actually developing, but just in terms of consulting, that sort of thing, or if it's just a money thing, I'm not sure. But yeah, I'm curious to see about that side of things too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so there you go. There's Quantic Dream. Moving on, another exclusivity thing. Everything's tied together today. Look at that. It's so nice. So Microsoft came out and said that Call of Duty, they plan to keep that on PlayStation for several more years past the current deal, which I think would take you another 3 or 4 years in terms of when those games are first made, and they're already coming to PlayStation originally, even if the game's not made yet. But yeah, Microsoft plans to keep them coming onto PlayStation, even though, of course, they're going to have the exclusivity, or they have access to exclusivity as of next year sometime is when that deal finally goes through Activision Blizzard. So I guess just right off the hop, before we dive into some of these more sub-questions, like what do you think about that? Does that surprise you to see that they're not going, nope, you can only play this on Game Pass on an Xbox? You can still play it on PlayStation.
Yeah, I feel like that was my initial prediction. Like when this acquisition happened, I'm like, Call of Duty is just such a big thing. Like in my opinion, it's like a Fortnite thing. Like it just crosses so many different
best-selling game every year
thresholds.
For the last, at least decade. Yeah,
absolutely. And like there's always been, just whether you're on PlayStation or Xbox, like you just had access to Call of Duty. So I just always thought it was going to remain that way. Now Travis kind of swayed me a little bit when just like bringing up with like the fact that they drop all this money to purchase like Activision Blizzard, and like why would they not just power play and be like, no, like if you want it, you got to come to Call of Duty, right? If you're dropping that much money, and like when he said that to me, it's like, okay, yeah, I guess I understand that. So I was a little bit less confident in that regard, but like hearing this news, and like I feel like there was even some tweets by like Phil Spencer or something like talking about that, about like the choice to keep it like just accessible with PlayStation for at least a little while. Like I don't think he said forever, but he definitely said like it's not going to just shut the door like right away on it. But this could just be an ever-changing thing, right? Like after a few years, maybe they'll completely change their mind. I don't know, but I'm happy with this news because I don't have an Xbox, and I've actually been really loving Call of Duty lately. It's really just found a place back in my life, especially with Warzone. Just all of a sudden I start doing better. I'm like, oh, this is why it's fun. You know, when you actually are doing good in Call of Duty.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was interesting to like at least get this confirmation. So.
Yeah, I guess this is the one thing that I was curious about. Like Call of Duty, as you mentioned, so huge that is an exception to that rule. And it looks like it is going to be. And I think there's a couple reasons for that. I think one of them is too, like, Xbox wants Call of Duty to still be the best-selling game every year for the rest of time. And I think if you take it off PlayStation, I think that first year you do that, you'll see all sorts of articles of this game has beat out Call of Duty as the best-selling game this year, just because you're losing so many locations that people can play the game. That I think, even if it is still a huge success, just without having that PlayStation 5 and PlayStation 4, whatever it is, like over 100 million PlayStation 4s, and then I think PS5's up to maybe close to 20 million now or something. Like, that's a lot of homes that you're getting rid out of. So are you just going to lose that best-selling game every year moniker, which I don't know how, obviously money-wise, that is a nice thing, but I also think the prestige of that is a big thing as well, so they don't want to lose that. So I think that's a big deal for it, for sure. But yeah, I'm curious, like, how much do you think this really means anything for the rest of Activision Blizzard, the Overwatches, the Diablos of the world? Like, do you think anything else is going to sneak through like Call of Duty is, or is that the one and only exception?
It is interesting because, like, we were just talking about how, like, Call of Duty, like, in my eyes, it's got like that Fortnite moniker. Like, it's just it just crosses all thresholds. And like you bringing up like Diablo or Overwatch, I feel like they even kind of are in that category also, because they just always have been so accessible, at least on like the three major consoles: PC, Xbox, PlayStation,
even Switch for those games.
Yeah, that's right. They're not on the same caliber of what I would think Call of Duty is, but like I could still just picture those being like across all spectrums. I feel like Diablo was really like a big eye-opening thing for that. Like when it was coming out on console, that was just so strange to me at the time. But then when I actually like saw it on console, it's like, this makes so much more sense to just just get coverage on all different fans and players and whatever they're playing on. So. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, because like that's not as big of a one as Call of Duty, but it still feels like it should fit on all consoles. I don't know. I really don't have a prediction too on that one. Like I feel like I'm really in the middle on it could go either way, but
yeah, I think for me it is. I feel pretty solid that Call of Duty is the one exception, and then I guess there could be like ongoing things like Overwatch 2. I think it was just PC beta and stuff like that was happening, but like maybe that game's already been developed for PlayStation 5, and that game's coming out in the fall, so maybe it's already coming. So like there's something like that, and like they'd obviously continue to support it on PlayStation console. They wouldn't leave it as like a buggy broken mess with only the base game characters or something like that. But yeah, I think for any like new release, like I think Diablo 4 and all that, I think we will see that exclusivity for it. Now, the thing the thing they've always said when they got Bethesda, when they got Activision Blizzard, is that you can play these games wherever Game Pass is available. Do you think that is what they're talking about here? That by the time these Call of Duty games would be past that deal, and they're going to extend it, that it's been like 3 or 4 years, and Game Pass exists in some way on PlayStation? I'm going to say no. I don't think that's what they mean here. But do you think there's any like credence to that?
Low percent for me. I agree with what you said. It's just really strange to picture an Xbox Games Pass being on PlayStation, because PlayStation kind of already has their own version of that. But like, to what extent does that mean? Like, is that actually them just pulling the plug on the whole PlayStation thing? Like, okay, you can play it on 2 different consoles, Xbox and PC. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, and then I think for me too, the last thing on this would be that I very much expect there to be exclusivity involved in the game in some way. I know back in the day it used to be like map packs. That was like the Xbox got them first, and then the PlayStation consoles, they got the maps first. And so I think you'll see stuff like that for the regular like I think Warzone will be pretty ubiquitous, and even when it's Warzone 2, whatever it is, like it'll stay constant and current for all things. Maybe you get bonus skins or something if you play through your Game Pass, but I expect for the mainline games, like you'll get access to this map 2 months early if you're playing on an Xbox, or specifically on Game Pass, you'll get this much more XP per game, so you can level up that much quicker, that kind of stuff. So I think they'll throw a lot of things at you to encourage you to get it on their console, even though they will keep it up on PlayStation. But they'll make it like how Marvel's Avengers will and everything. But like you want to play it on PlayStation because you can play Spider-Man. They're gonna do the same thing with Call of Duty, where it's like you'll get all this bonus stuff if you play it over on our console. So I think they'll do it that way. Does that make sense to you too? Does that sound pretty like a good strategy for them?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not too deep on the Xbox Game Pass, like following it, so I feel like I'm definitely like third hand observer, but it's still interesting to see what unravels, especially if it leads to just more exclusivity stuff on the Xbox side, because I don't have an Xbox at this point.
Yeah.
It does affect me and the games that I enjoy to play.
Yeah, I mean they have said too, like in that same article where they're talking about this is that like Call of Duty is coming to Game Pass. It will be there, so I don't think that's a surprise to absolutely anyone. But it's worth mentioning for people who are wondering about that too. Like that's where I'm curious too on the sales side of things. Like best selling game every year. If I'm playing it on Game Pass, am I counting it all to that metric at all? If I'm not directly paying for the game itself, I'm curious to see how that goes. Maybe they'll change it instead of it's the best selling game every year, it's the most played game every year, or something like that. Even though I don't think that's the case. I mean, I feel like Fortnite would be beating out Call of Duty in that way. So yeah, we'll keep an eye on that, but it's interesting as the news on the Activision Blizzard. I feel like it's something new every week. Some new tidbit is coming out, or some change up Activision Blizzard's people moving around. A lot of things are going to be going on with this until the acquisition finally hits. And then even then, for years, it'll be little things, micro changes moving around as Xbox works them into their cog, into their machine. So it's
such a big acquisition, right? Like just with like
crazy,
like the like the industry, like the studio is the word I was looking for, and also just like the amount of money involved, right? And just like how it shapes these well established franchises like the Diablos. Overwatch, I don't know. I feel like that's kind of dead in the water already. But definitely like Diablo, Call of Duty, even like World of Warcraft, I guess, to like that's still pumping out stuff, right? And I don't know how changed that's going to be moving forward, but it's still relevant.
Yeah. All right, let's take our second ad break here. We'll come back and we will get into the fall gaming preview. Okay, we are back. So it is now September, which means that we have 4 months left of gaming in this year, which is usually the heavy hitter time period, right? I think that actually ended up being February of this year. February, March, I think was actually that time of this year, and so many things have been delayed. So a lot of those big games, like your Starfields, have been kicked out of this year, the Hogwarts Legacy, a lot of that stuff just gone. It's gone now. Who knows where it is? Come next year probably, but who even knows at this point? But we still do have a lot of big heavy hitters. We got some indie games. We got some AAA stuff. So we're just kind of going to go through. We're not going to talk about every single game. But to me, I kind of just picked out the highlights. And, there's also a lot of things that are still like, okay, we're coming out this year, but they don't have a release date yet. I just kind of left those aside. We're just going to talk about stuff that has an actual release date. I'm sure a lot of these will change. Some of these will get delayed, but let's try and stick to it. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is just kind of mentioning a couple of these showcases that are happening pretty soon here, because we're going to do this cast, and within like a week or two, a lot of it's going to be outdated as we get new announcements for things, as some of these things maybe get delayed. But one thing, we talked about this earlier, was Ubisoft Forward. That's coming this weekend. And the Disney Marvel Showcase, that's also coming this weekend. So we'll look forward to those. I guess for Ubisoft Forward, I think they've said that Assassin's Creed is going to be shown off there, which Assassin's Creed Mirage, I don't know if that's the full name or that's the code name for now, but they've shown some more of that. So you look forward next week. Taylor will break that down for you, give you everything you need to know about that. They're going to talk about Skull and Bones and Mario plus Rabbids. I think those are the three headliners that they called them. I'm sure we'll have a couple other surprises in store, but those would be the main things. And for Disney Marvel Showcase, what do you expect to see there? I guess we'll probably get more Midnight Suns, even though that got delayed. We'll get some other trailer showing off a new character or a new enemy or something like that. I'm curious, what do you think about the Insomniac things? Do you think a Spider-Man 2 or a Wolverine shows up there?
I feel like we're still too far away for definitely the Wolverine one. Spider-Man 2 possibly. If anything, I still feel like it's so early for that stuff. I don't know, maybe like a early concept of what like the story might be. Because obviously if you played Spider-Man 1, like there's big cliffhanger. So I think if they show something around that could just generate a lot of buzz and hype. I wouldn't want them to just announce this and be like, "Oh yeah, we're 3 years away," like the classic like that, because then the hype will just be completely deflated within like 6 months or something. So, I definitely I would vote more the Spider-Man versus the Wolverine thing. But if they have something about Wolverine, I would definitely be pleasantly surprised, because I'm just so excited for when that eventually happens. But I still just feel like that's very far away. I don't know, like some Avengers stuff, or not even.
Yeah, I guess there have been talks about She-Hulk being like maybe potentially the last character, but just another character. I think that would be probably a good time to show that off. I mean, it's a little late for the TV show lining up, I think. Well, I guess not. If they announce it.
It's going into October, right?
I doubt it would release anytime soon, considering how slow they're releasing stuff, but at least they could announce it during that time. I guess Star Wars would fall into that too. So Star Wars Eclipse, we just talked about Quantic Dream.
Yeah.
We got, Ubisoft has their game too, so that could be at either thing, like Ubisoft Star Wars game. And then, another thing too is, remember there was that Disney Speedstorm game. It was like that Disney kart racer.
Oh, right.
That was announced for summer, and it's not summer anymore, so I guess that got delayed. Unless it did come out and no one talked about it, which also is actually very possible.
It's a bad sign, yeah.
But I could see that popping up and giving a release date or delaying it till next year, whatever they do. I just feel like if they're going to do this for the first time, their first Disney Marvel Games Showcase, lining it up with D23, I feel like there's got to be a reason for it, and it's that they want to show at least one big thing off. They need something that hits the articles, because I don't know if Midnight Suns, like, obviously people care about that, but we've seen so much of it at this point that how exciting is that for that to be your headliner,
Right.
So I feel like Spider-Man makes sense. I think that would be a good thing to show off, and I guess the question with that is, like, does Sony want to give that to them to show off, or do they want to be the ones to show it off first? That's kind of an unclear thing, right?
Yeah, I'm not too sure.
So that's coming this week. We'll find out about that stuff soon enough. And then, lastly, the Game Awards. That is, of course, happening in December. They did announce the actual date. I think it's the 10th or something like that. I'd have to look into it. But that's coming as well, so expect a lot of announcements there, although that is going to be for announcements for next year. But we'll get some things there as well. So those are showcases. Oh, actually, yeah, one more is that there is been a heavily rumored Nintendo Direct. Now, I don't know how much of this is that Nintendo usually does a Direct in September, so it makes sense. But it seems like there's other things that corroborate it. People saying, insiders, that, okay, it's coming, it's going to be happening, here's the things they're going to be showing off. So it seems like it's going to happen, which I guess I'm maybe a bit surprised by. I just feel like they have enough games coming out that we already know about that I don't know if we need a Direct. Like, they could just do, I think they just did a Splatoon one, but they could do, here's your Bayonetta Direct. But it seems like it's going to be a more general one. So I don't really know what to speculate on, because I don't know if we're going to get any other new releases that are going to come out this year. I think it's maybe just a reminder of everything you can buy in the fall season for them. But they always like to have a couple surprises in there, so I'm sure there's going to be something like that sneaks in. Yeah. But yeah, that'll probably be within the next 2 weeks, I'm assuming, is when that we will see that. So we will talk about that on Sidequest when it is relevant, of course.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, let's stick on the Nintendo train for a bit and go through what they have coming out. So Splatoon 3 is coming out September 9th. We got Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope on the 20th of October. Bayonetta 3 on October 28th. Harvestella, which is, I mean, maybe it's a more low-key one, which it is, but they've been marketing it a lot, so I think they expect it to be a big deal, which is kind of like the farming RPG game.
Yeah.
And then Pokemon Violet Scarlet is coming out November 18th. So that's kind of the slate of their 5 big games, I would say, and maybe even 4 plus Harvestella. But what do you think about that slate? Anything there get you excited? Anything that you expect to do big numbers for them? What do you think's interesting about that?
Yeah, with Pokemon, is that like a brand new game, or is that another one of those like offshoot things? I always get so confused, because like the names are never like clear. Like, this is the next full game when there's like Pokemon Legends.
Pokemon 12, yeah. No, it is the new gen. It is it is taking the kind of open world structure that they introduced in Arceus and expanding on it, but with a more traditional turn-based combat. But yeah, it's that open world, kind of a Spain sort of setting. It looks pretty good for Pokemon, as far as you can expect with those games that have very short development times. But that's maybe their biggest hitter, I would say, in this fall.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough because I feel like a lot of these big ones on here are big ones, but like I'm never really aware about like when like these ones drop, like something like Splatoon. I don't think I've ever played that. Bayonetta, I feel like it has like a cult following. Like there's people that just absolutely
Definitely.
like die for it, but like in my friend groups, like no one has really played it. I believe. And then Mario and Rabbids, I feel like that'll always just kind of pop off. You know, you got Mario in there, you got Rabbids, and it's again, I haven't played that game, but I feel like when I initially saw it, I'm like, what is this? Like, who would play this? And then here we are years later, we're still getting more of them. So clearly it has like a big audience there. Harvest Stella looks just really interesting to me. It's got that. Is it Square Enix? Is that what
I don't
it
know,
is?
but you're right. It does kind of have that allure to it, doesn't it? I don't
Yeah.
know who's making this one.
And just like the whole farming aspect, it's like, if Shay sees this, you know, she's deadly on her
Good
her
eye.
farming
It is
game.
Square
So,
Enix. You got it.
there you go, nice. So, yeah, it looks interesting to me. I'm not gonna commit and say that like I'm gonna jump on it right away, but you know, might be keep an eye on it with a keen eye on. Nintendo never does sales, so I don't get a sale for it, but
No.
yeah.
Definitely not. Yeah, Harvestella is an interesting one for me. I guess just from the first trailer, I thought it looked okay, but then people seem to be really hyped on it, so I don't know if I'm missing something there. But since it's November, we have a bit more time, so I'm curious. I'm sure if there is that direct that we will see another showcase out there. Maybe they'll have a good story hook, or maybe they'll just have some more gameplay. That seems interesting to me. But as for the rest of these, like I played the first Splatoon, I played some Bayonetta 2, I've played the first Mario and Rabbids, and I've played my fair share of Pokemon games in my day. So I have some skin in the game for these, but I'm not really excited about any of them. I don't know why. I really want to be a Splatoon guy because that seems like such an awesome series. People are really into that. But I think I don't have any friends personally that are playing it, so if I don't, it doesn't really seem like much reason for me to get it, even though I could find some communities online. But I just feel like it'd be one that I'd end up playing for a couple weeks and then put down and never really pick up again. So not really worth the $80 price tag. And then the rest of them, I'd want to wait and see and check them out later potentially, but none of them are really calling to me. So I don't know if I'm picking up another Nintendo game this year. I've had a good year with Nintendo. Had a lot of, like Triangle Strategy and Kirby, Nintendo Switch Sports, Mario Strikers. So I've had a good solid Nintendo year, but I don't know if I'm picking up any more in this fall season.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that direct will show something off, new Fire Emblem game or something.
Yeah.
I doubt anything big will release in this year, but maybe something to get excited on. That'll be good.
That recent one, what was it called? It was Three Kingdoms? No, or
Fire Emblem.
It was like
Three Hopes.
Three Hopes. Yeah,
Came
like
out in June.
oh, okay, yeah, it has already been out. It's one of those like Dynasty Warriors types games, right? Yeah, okay, very different.
Yeah, I've heard really good things about that. Apparently, it's, like story-wise, it's a great companion piece to Three Houses.
Oh, right.
I just can't stand the gameplay of those games, or they just do nothing for me that it's not really worth getting into. But yeah, I mean, I definitely would be down for more characters in that world. It's just unfortunately not the genre for me. I tried last year with Age of Calamity, and that game sucked. So I'm not falling for that trap again, even if I really want Fire Emblem. I've been waiting for the first one to go on sale too. It's never gone on sale, the first Fire Emblem Warriors. So please do that, Nintendo. I'd like to try it at some point. Let's move over to the PlayStation side of things, where this technically already came out. It came out last week, but Last of Us Part 1, the remake there, that came out, and Valkyrie Elysium coming out at the end of September, which looks pretty cool, and then God of War Ragnarok, of course, November 9th, is their big heavy hitter, and as I mentioned earlier, we're doing the retro on that as I'm playing the first one now, so look forward to that. But yeah, I mean, Last of Us already came out, but I'd say a bit of a quieter fall for them, but like God of War is so big that you don't, you almost don't want to put anything in the orbit of it. You just want to let it exist in its own realm there, and because it'll just gobble up everything else. So anything excite you here? Any thoughts on this? And I don't know if I've really heard much on your thoughts on Last of Us Part 1. Like, are you any interest in that, or do you wish that Naughty Dog did something else with their time? Where you lie on that one?
Probably I wish they would focus more like elsewhere. Like I have Last of Us on like PlayStation Plus. I think it was if it wasn't a free game, I got it for like $5 one day. So I'm not gonna go out and just buy it again. Although I will say I saw some like side by side comparisons, and
it's beautiful.
It's always beautiful what they can do with these remakes. What like going back to like when Resident Evil 2 came out, like I just remember that one like making my jaw drop. So visually like it looks gorgeous, but yeah, I'm not gonna drop more money on a game that I already have just to like go through the story. But yeah, I definitely think that they should maybe just focus their efforts on something new. And then yeah, I completely agree with your sentiment on God of War. Like it's just that's their big one. So they don't really have to put anything around it. Valkyrie's definitely like the lesser of them all on here, but I am still curious on how it's gonna do. Can't see myself again dropping money on any of these just because I haven't beaten God of War. You know me, I'm so slow with games, so I'm not going to be rushing to jump on God of War Ragnarok. I got the first one for like $5 on sale. I'm completely fine for just waiting when Ragnarok's going to go on there. But
yeah, I feel almost obligated to play Ragnarok just because it's like maybe the biggest AAA release this year, and for Game of the Year stuff, I just feel like okay, I need to have had played that game. And I mean, I've always wanted to pick up 2018. I don't know why. It was lower on my priority at the time, but like I said, I'm playing it now, so I will pick it up. Ragnarok. Valkyrie Elysium actually looks really awesome to me. Like, I do want to pick it up. The release date of it is not good for me. I'm playing Serial Cleaners that week, which I'm looking forward to. We talked about that when we did our underrated summer games. So I'm very excited for that. And then it's just like week after week after week after that are big releases, big expensive games that I'm buying. So I just don't think I have enough room for Valkyrie Elysium when I haven't played the original games. So I think that one's going to slip through the cracks for me. But maybe when it goes on sale one day, I'll check it out because I think I'd like to play it at some point in my life. But unfortunately, I won't be picking it up now. And then, yeah, I don't need to harp on this. I'm not a Naughty Dog guy. I'm not a big fan of their games, so I'm not interested in Last of Us. But maybe I'll check out the multiplayer thing. That might be interesting to me. The Factions 2, whatever the hell it's called, that sequel that they've talked about a little bit now. So there you go, PlayStation. Moving on to Xbox. I have 5 games here now. Only 2 of these are actually first party, but these are all games that I know were coming to Game Pass, so I wanted to include them in this kind of section here. First, from Obsidian, they have 2 games coming out. They have Grounded, which is the full 1.0 like final release, leaving early access on September 27th. Another game, once again, Valkyrie Elysium. Hard when I want to check out Grounded again. And then they also have Pentiment releasing on November 15th. So just to quickly tackle the Obsidian stuff, it's pretty awesome to get 2 Obsidian games in, I mean, not even 1 year, but 1 fall season. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I'm a big Obsidian guy. I'm very excited to jump into Grounded again with the full release because me and Taylor played early on, but that was also on my PC. It was struggling to run the game, but now I got my Series X, so that'll be very exciting. And then Pentiment, which has been getting really good previews and stuff, so I'm very excited for that now too. Just a shorter Obsidian experience, all about the writing, funny, clever, good RPG stuff, so I'm looking forward to that. Other Xbox stuff, Plague Tale Requiem, once again, not first party, but on Game Pass, so obviously me and you checking out Plague Tale right now. And then Scorn, which is that kind of weird Doom-looking game that seems interesting, and then High on Life, which is the Rick and Morty-ish sort of game. So that's kind of Xbox's, I'd say, the big releases from them coming out this fall on their Game Pass on their service. So any thoughts on those, Kirklin?
Pentiment looks really awesome. I was just checking out like screenshots again on it, and I completely forgot about it. But yeah, no, it looks really just. I love the art style of it. It looks really cute and just interesting. I love that era and like just the whole kingdom stuff. So that's fun. Scorn is just very bizarre to me. I feel like it's definitely one. If I just had Games Pass, maybe I'll throw on one day. But I don't know, just to drop money on a game like that, I might not be able to get too far in. I don't think I'll go there. But High on Life is that I feel like that one it could be one of those sleeper OP picks that just like really surprise a lot of people with how fun it is. Which looks really, really sweet. And yeah, no, Grounded. I definitely want to try that out sometime. I remember when you two streamed it, it looked like a definitely a fun. Well, like you mentioned, like your own hardware issues, but like, was it like running pretty decent? Like the overall engine that they had, like it's
yeah.
Pretty...
I think it's a very solid game.
Nice.
What really was just my PC being too old to play this thing effectively. But yeah, I mean, it had a lot of cool stuff going for it, and it was a pretty short experience when I was able to play it. So I'm very much looking forward to the full release, which I know they have a lot more features in there, and like finished story and different features and all that stuff. So I'm very excited to jump back into that one for sure.
Right on. And then obviously I'm excited to jump into Plague Tale when that drops. That'll be a fun review. You and I feel like you and I haven't done like just one-on-one like game review before, like or never mind, we did 2 this year.
We've done a few, but yeah, I feel like in terms of like this is a bigger game. I'd say like it's maybe more in the AA space, but it's. I mean, I don't know if you booted up Plague Tale yet, but that game looks like a triple.
It looks
fantastic. Game. It's fucking beautiful. So I feel like we've done a lot of indie things, the two of us. So I think
Spider-Man might have been the last like big one that we did, but of course we had Travis with us.
Yeah, what else did we review? Yeah, we've done a lot of indies. We've done a lot of indies between the two of us.
It's more like my game length. Like I have the attention span to power through those, so there's a little bit easier. I mean, they're all on Game Pass. So I'm going to be playing all of these games. Very excited for all of them. I think Scorn is the one I'm like, I don't know about that. We'll see. But apparently it's pretty short. I've heard that. Okay. So for me, that's always a good thing. Like, cool, I can play it in 2 sittings. Sweet. I'm down for that. So looking forward to that. And then High on Life looks really fun. Like, I think the game looks hilarious. I don't know much about the gameplay, really, but I just think the world, how colorful it is, characters, definitely one I'm pretty excited for. Moving into indies. Now, this one is light in that there are going to be a lot more indies coming out, but the thing with indie games I find in general is it's pretty like you kind of find out like a month before it's coming out what the actual release date is. So there's a lot of things that I know of that I'm keeping my eye on, and they're like, oh yeah, we're coming out this year or we're coming out soon. But since I don't know the release dates of them, I decided to leave those ones aside and just highlight some ones that actually have a release date, which I would say for indies, those are not usually the things that are getting delayed. It's usually the AAA stuff that have a lot more hands in the pot, you could say. So I think I'm looking pretty. Feeling pretty solid that these are going to come out when they're supposed to. So, Return to Monkey Island, September 17th. Serial Cleaners, as we talked about, September 22nd. Looking forward to that. The Chant, November 3rd. I want to bring the trailer up for this game. And then Goat Simulator 3, November 17th as well, which looks very fun. But I'm going to bring up this trailer here because I've not heard anyone talk about this game. But I think it looks really cool. So I just want to kind of get your take on this, Kirklin, where it's kind of a darker game, maybe a bit horror, maybe you get a bit of a cult setting, but interesting looking world. I don't have the sound on, so you're going to have to, make some inferences about the story here. But it seems like a very interesting game that I'm looking forward to now all of a sudden. Do you know if it's going to be something like The Quarry or like more like a narrative type thing? Because that was kind of like the vibe I got when I looked into it. I didn't see what the genre is, but...
I don't know.
What was the other one? Like Until Dawn. I think that was the PlayStation one.
Yeah, like those I forget what
driven narrative games.
I forget what they call it for the name of that series, but I think this one will be more of a gameplay focus. Like I think I've seen shots of like third person action stuff to it. I could be wrong on that, but I think I expect more of that, but I think it will be very much focused on the story and the world. But probably some light puzzles and light action moments and things like that as well. But I mean, I think horror games in general, as we talked about this in the past, like horror games do generally have a more of a narrative focus.
Oh yeah, there
right?
you go. There's some gameplay.
Yeah, which to be fair, like the gameplay does not look outstanding by any means, but I think this game just seems like it has enough variety to it that I'm keeping my eye on it for that reason.
Yeah, I think it looked AAA honestly until that gameplay, but even then, like it
yeah,
I
texture
totally
quality's not quite AAA, but it still looks pretty cool
for an indie game. Like that's phenomenal. November 3rd, 2022. Yeah, it looks very just bizarre. Like I thought I had an idea, and then we saw some of those monster designs, and even when that one lady, it seemed like she was like meditating or something. You just see this like lighthouse with like green lights going around, like you're on a Nazi zombies map or something. It looks just very, very bizarre, and I'm curious if it is just like a linear story, or if like maybe you make some decisions and some characters don't make it, or like which character you are playing. But yeah, no, it looks. I kind of had Alan Wake vibes at some moments in that trailer, but it looks very, very cool, honestly.
I love a good cult. I mean, obviously we did Cult of the Lamb, but I love that setting in terms of how creepy it can be, the different layers, the characters that usually come with it. So I don't know if I'm day one on that one yet. When did I say that was? November 3rd. So once again, it's in that tricky time slot. A lot of other things coming out. But I'm going to keep my eye on it, so maybe you can look forward to a review on that one over here on GeekVerse. So let's go through some of these AAA games. We'll go through these kind of more one at a time. First, the Dealfield Chronicle, September 20th. I think this one you kind of could put it there in that PlayStation camp. I don't know if it is exclusive, but it's definitely something they've been advertising a lot. I don't know if you've seen this one, but it's kind of in your wheelhouse. It's kind of got Fire Emblem-ish tactics gameplay. I think it's more real-time than turn-based somehow. So I don't know exactly how that works, but it looks pretty cool. I know that there's been a demo that's been out that people have checked out, and I've heard good things on it. So I think, this is definitely my kind of genre. I just don't know if, once again, that time slot makes it tricky for me, especially September 20th. I'm moving a few days after that, so I don't know how much time I'll have to sit down with a longer game like that. But it seems pretty decent. That won't do anything for you?
Definitely interested. Realistically, just with like how much I'm spread out on other games and just other life commitments, I definitely won't be able to jump onto this one, but I'll definitely be keeping an eye on it, and who knows down the line. It took me a long time to get into the Breach, but I finally got it and just loving it. So this could probably fit in that same category. I love tactics games, but I just don't play them enough. But they definitely satisfy that strategy itch that I get a lot of times. I love strategy. That's honestly, it's like probably my main genre of gaming. I feel like I've ebbed and flowed between genres, but it's like it all just you end up where you started. For me, I learned video games on RTS. Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Next up, Overwatch 2. We've talked about this a lot in passing. I mentioned it earlier today as well. October 4th is, I guess, the release date for this. Now, I think that the weird thing with this is that it's October 4th, like the multiplayer releases, and that single-player content they've talked about is still somewhere down the line. So it's like, well, what is Overwatch 2 then? Is it not just Overwatch 1 with like maybe a new character or something? So I'm very confused about this. I don't think they've done a good job of explaining what Overwatch 2 is exactly. I am more curious about that single-player stuff just because it's something fresh and new, especially when me and you went back and played some Overwatch recently. It was like, yeah, this is all right, but it didn't really live up to the heyday of like when I was first playing the game. So I don't know if I'll be checking this one out. I think for me, like, is the multiplayer free to play? I don't really know. If it's not, I don't see myself paying for it. But I'll definitely keep my eye on the single player stuff because I really want to see what they have working there, and I hope that part's good because that like. Those character movesets are really cool with maybe add some more RPG mechanics. The level design they've always had is really solid. So I'd love to see that in a single player fashion. Their story, like videos that they've done, whatever, like character backstories and stuff. I thought those are all really cool. Phenomenal. So like there's a lot in there, a lot of ingredients that could work well together. We'll just have to see how well they actually do of putting it into a cohesive dish, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm definitely retired on my Overwatch multiplayer career. I had fun in there, but like all those glory days, like you mentioned, are just in the past for me. I don't know what they would do to like change that for the multiplayer stuff, but I'm definitely interested enough in the world and the characters that they showed to maybe be interested in a single player element. Now, like how much they're changing that from what they shown in the first game, I am very curious about that because the first game, it did have like some PvE element, but it's just like what the multiplayer was, but like a bot, right, with some like ridiculous buffs on them. And it didn't like I don't think you could call that like a dedicated single player experience by any means. Not. So I'm curious if they like actually make the effort to make it a lot different from what the multiplayer is. I'm not too optimistic that they will go that route. I feel like it will just be more of what was done for the single player in the first game. But who knows? I could be wrong there because it is an interesting world, as you mentioned, like the cinematics and everything. It's all that very stellar Blizzard quality. They're so good with that cinematics and just world building stuff. So. Yeah, I don't know. I'm honestly I feel like more than anything I'm just curious how this game's gonna do.
Yeah,
like
me
with
too, man.
Like fans coming back because I feel like Overwatch. I'm surprised if it still has like an esport thing. It probably does, but it's just weird to me because I really don't know like anyone in my social circle that still even plays that game, and it was one of those games that a lot of people I knew did play it. So I don't know. I just like the longevity of it moving forward. Like I don't know. I don't think we'll be getting Overwatch 3 at some point in the future, but I could be completely wrong there because it definitely has those diehards that probably still play it. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird how far that game's dropped from like its heyday, right? Like it was the game of the year when whatever year it came out.
2016. Yeah. Way back when. Yeah, there is still a lot of fondness in my heart for Overwatch, so you can definitely expect that we'll talk about it on the podcast in the future. I don't think we'll be talking about it on October 4th when the game comes out. probably won't be talking about it this year, but I'm sure me and Kirklin, I think we'll probably jump in there at some point, check it out, or at least when it's on Game Pass, I'll be jumping in and trying out that single player content at some point in the future. So at some point on the podcast, you can look forward to that. It might just not be this year. Next up would be Ghostbusters Spirits Unleashed, which I think me and you talked about when it was released. I forget what showcase it was at, but I think it was me and you that were breaking it down. This is the kind of multiplayer, asymmetric multiplayer Ghostbusters game that's coming out. Great timing, October 18th, right in that Halloween slot for people to check it out. I don't think I'll be picking this one up. I'm not a big Ghostbusters guy, but I'm down to watch some streams of this. I'm curious to see if it's good, if it's one that sticks around, or if it's just a big Halloween hit. I think they could find themselves like with a nice successful game on their hands, at least for the rest of this year. So I'm gonna assume you're not too interested in this one, but maybe down the line, check it out in the future.
Yeah, I could definitely see this becoming like a really fun game to like stream with the crew, especially if we can have like a full team on there. I have a special place in my heart for asymmetrical like games like that. Honestly, like it's I've had so much fun playing Dead by Daylight, Friday the 13th, those types of games. Even oh my gosh, Evil Dead, right? Like, is that one already out now? I can't even remember.
I think it got delayed until this fall, but then I swear I saw reviews for it, so I don't know if it's like there's different parts of it. I'm a little confused by that one as well.
Yeah, so I'm interested, but not like scratching at the bit for this one, and I hope it does really well. Honestly, like if it comes out and it's really really fun to play and just everybody's raving about it, it's being streamed like everywhere, I would probably be a lot more motivated to get into it earlier. But yeah, because like what was shown, like them using their gadgets and stuff, I'm not the biggest Ghostbusters fan, but definitely a fan of that first one for sure. So I don't know, I think it could have. I could see it going better more ways than wrong, honestly.
Yeah.
If I can put it that way.
Yeah, that makes sense. Moving on then would be Gotham Knights, October 21st is what I'm looking for there. I don't think I have too much to add on this. We've talked about this a lot on the podcast, even recently as well, as it got a new trailer and got moved up recently at the Summer Game Fest thing, or Gamescom, I guess it was, where we got the release date moved forward a few days there. I know Travis and Taylor are picking this one up, so you can expect a review on the GeekVerse feeds for you. Are you going to join them, Kirklin? Are you going to be their third man there? I don't know who I'm trying to pick who each character you guys would play. Who's the one you're eyeballing if you had to play a 4-man team? Who would you stick to?
The one that was jumping out initially, I think, was Batgirl. I thought her moveset was really sweet, but like Nightwing, like there's a lot of sweet movesets, honestly, on the cast of the showcase. The problem there is I'm not picking up this game, so I won't be playing. I was definitely interested, like at the just announcement for it, and then when they released that gameplay, I was really digging what was shown. It looked lots of fun, and then I was really just dissuaded with no co-op campaign, because I feel like this could be a good game for Shay and I to jump into. She's not like a big DC fan by any means, but I feel like the gameplay would have been fun enough for us to like play together. That's out the window, so I can't do that with her, and I'm just gonna be focusing on some other games I think around that time. So unfortunately, I'm not jumping in there, and I was there was one point in time that I was just like peak hypeness for it, that like I would have been willing to just like drop money on a pre-order right away. But I think I'm still, it's a completely different game, but I think I'm leaning more like Midnight Suns over Gotham Knights to scratch that itch. And again, like I said, it's different genre game, but I'm just a lot more interested in that. As I mentioned, tactics, I love that. So
I hear you. Yeah, I don't think I have anything to add on that. Moving on, new Tales from the Borderlands, same day, October 21st. So, yeah, I think this was just announced recently, so pretty cool that it got announced date like pretty soon after its initial announcement. I guess I'm curious if this would be within that Embracer Group helm now, because this is they own Gearbox, so I don't know if like all Borderlands things falls into that umbrella. I'm not exactly sure, but I'll be curious to see how this one does, because I know that first one is like potentially one of the best Telltale games from everything I hear, so that's pretty cool. Anything to add on that one, or should we move it along?
No, I have nothing to add.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. It's a new Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, of course. Don't be confused. October 28th.
I hate that they do that.
Yeah,
I hate that they do that. I
super
understand,
annoying.
but like, just come up with a new name. Like,
I don't
come
understand.
on.
I hate it.
You don't
Get rid
understand,
of it.
yeah. Especially like they're like bringing back the same character. I was asking Taylor that, like genuinely. I'm like, or genuinely. It's like, are they actually just like redoing it with the same? He's like, no, there's a new story. It's like, come up with a new name. Like, why does it have to be Modern Warfare 2? Make it Present Warfare. Like you know, there's different ways around it.
Yeah, I hate it. It sucks.
Yeah.
Well, Taylor will be picking that one up. I mean, you said you're a Call of Duty guy. I don't know. Are you Call of Duty guy enough to buy the new one at launch? Is that where you're at with this?
I can even do you one step further. I've already bought it. Honestly, I've already pre-ordered it. I know
damn.
Taylor persuaded me, and like when we were just going off on Warzone, I was just like, man, like especially when I was just peeking and just like popping off, getting like 15 kill bombs in a row. It's like, oh, like this is why I enjoyed playing Call of Duty back in the day.
Damn,
so committed to that. Got like the super edition, so we had all like the Warzone unlocks. Yeah, it's been like probably like whenever Modern Warfare 3 came out. I think that was the last Call of Duty I purchased, and the drought is over. I'm back on that train. So
crazy.
Yeah. I mean, Taylor, expect a lot of content from him and I playing that, whether we're streaming or just talking about it, having fun. And that one drops, because I'm on PlayStation, it drops on like the 16th. I think I get like early beta access. Nice. So nice and early, like well over a month. So I'm excited to try that one out. Because like I said, I've been just having fun again on the FPS.
Well, that's good to know. I'll have to punch that into Sidequest calendar to get the early access. I hadn't factored that into things. So definitely look forward to some reviews, some coverage on that over here. Resident Evil 8 DLC is also coming out that same day, and that's what I'll be picking up. So I can report on that one. We can all play a different game and come share our thoughts on it. I'm looking forward to this. I think the release date is pretty good. It'd be nice if it was a few days earlier for that Halloween slot, but I expect this to be kind of a shorter DLC, so maybe just a couple sessions to get through it. But I'm liking everything I'm seeing in terms of the setting of it, where it follows up with the events of Resident Evil 8. I really enjoyed my time with that game, so I'll be checking that one out.
Now, is that one like I know it's like the DLC with whatever her name is. I forget the character, but is this also releasing with like that villains one where you like play as, or is that something completely different?
Yeah, that's Resident Evil Reverse, I think is what it's called. That is releasing the same day.
Oh, okay.
Once again, that's something I'm confused on. I don't know if like that's had a beta period, because I feel like people have been playing that already. Is this a sequel? I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Some of this Resident Evil multiplayer stuff I find very confusing, but that is coming out the same day I saw, so I'm not sure exactly what's going on there in terms of what's new and what's old, but yeah, same day for that. So once again, that nice October time slot. Moving on to November, we got, I mean, the big day is that November 8th, 9th period, right? So we got God of War, and we also got Sonic Frontiers and Skull and Bones. Kirklin, if you had a gun to your head, you have to pick up one of these three games that day. Which one do you go with?
I would say God of War, and I haven't even beaten. It's interesting because I'm a big Sonic guy too. But
I know, that's why I thought you might go Sonic way.
Yeah, I feel like I just haven't really seen much about Sonic Frontiers. I'm kind of surprised that it's coming out so soon, November 8th. Maybe there's just a video that I didn't watch, but
there's been a lot of trailers.
Seen,
I think you've maybe just your areas of the internet have navigated past it somehow.
That's fair. I feel like the video I have in my head, it was just very like barren. It's just like, this is the playground that you run around in. It's just like what? There's not much
that's
in
an
there.
accurate description.
Yeah. I saw a couple like screenshots that like maybe it was a boss battle. It looked pretty intense. So who knows? Maybe I could be surprised about it. I don't know. I haven't played like that much of a recent Sonic game in a while. I feel like the last one I did was probably just like that Sonic remix where you just go through like the old levels. And like the last 3D version I did was like Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, which is like way back on GameCube era. So it's been a hot minute. I feel like I don't know. I don't want to say like I'm just gonna like not go for any like new 3D Sonic games, because there has been, as I mentioned, Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. That game's phenomenal. Even like Sonic Riders I liked a lot. Ooh. That was just like a racing game. Riders. But I don't know. I'm a little bit more like interested in the platformer Sonic stuff, I would say, like the OG style than this. But who knows? Maybe this does really good, and it sparks like just a whole new interest in this type of Sonic adventures, and then we just like get more, I don't know, DLCs or a sequel to this one. I'm very curious as to what happens around this one, because Sonic's still relevant these days, eh? Like we're getting movies for it.
That's true. Yeah.
People are
Bigger
still
than
loving
ever.
it, which is awesome, because that again, like that was one of the first games I ever played on Sega, and I just have so much love and like nostalgia for Sonic. So used to watch the show, so yeah, I'm a big fan. It's a little bit weird that I'm not willing to jump on this game, but I don't know. It looks a little different than what I'm used to with Sonic.
Yeah, I'm not a Sonic guy, so I don't need to be negative. I'll just say I'm not picking that one up. I think Skull and Bones, unfortunate release date as it's kind of surrounded by these two bigger games. I'm very curious to see how long this game exists for. I hope it
less
does
than the
well.
development cycle.
Yeah, I just hope for the developers' sake that it does well.
Yeah.
It's a game that I'd like to see like 2 years from now, like what kind of crazy DLC they have in there. It is a game I want to play. I just don't think the price tag is me picking it up right then and there. Also, that release date, I'll be playing God of War. So
Yeah.
I'm very curious, though. I cannot wait to hear those reviews for Skull and Bones. I just so like curious on that one. Just gotta find out. So
I do hope it does well for the developer side, because like for how long it's just been like murmured about, and like I can only imagine that people that are working on it like actually have a lot of passion for it, and like just have all these ideas that they've been just waiting for the world to like see. And it's just for so many different reasons, like we haven't been able to get to that point. You know, a lot of these developers probably raised a whole family and like gotten married and like done all these other life things just in this development cycle. So
that's a good point. You know how like a lot of games have that in the credits. It's like developer babies, like all the kids that were born from the development team in that time.
Just be like developer grandkids.
That's gonna be as long. Yeah, it's gonna have grandkids. It's gonna be as long as the actual amount of developers that are on the game. That'll be crazy. Moving on is Tactics Ogre Reborn. This is a remake, remaster of, I guess, the original Tactics Ogre game, which, you know, these games have always been on my radar as well as a big Fire Emblem guy. I've always heard, like, oh, you got to play, what's it called? Final Fantasy Tactics. You got to play Tactics Ogre. You got to play Advance Wars. Like, those are kind of the other big hitters in that space other than Fire Emblem. And so I've always wanted to play Tactics Ogre, and it looks cool because you just have, like, so many different characters at your disposal, and not just regular humans, but you get weird beast characters and things like that. So gameplay-wise, always wanted to play Tactics Ogre. Unfortunately, one thing, the release date for this makes it difficult for me. 2, price tag. It's a bit pricey, I'd say, for what you're getting there. And 3, man, Square Enix does this thing with some of the remasters. Like, they've done this with the Final Fantasy, like, pixel remasters and other things where the way they remaster these games, like, the visuals just do not work for me at all. Like, they have... This is like the remade pixel art, but then they do this like weird smoothing effect over everything that makes it just look really blurry and ugly. So I think it's too bad. I really do not like the visuals of this one, which is something that turns me off for sure. So I think I'll pick this up at some point in my life, maybe when it goes on sale next year or something like that, but I don't think I'll be picking it up this year. But
yeah.
And I'm sure you have now you have so many tactics games on your radar this one's probably I'm going to assume like near the bottom of that list right now.
Unfortunately, because everything I've seen about it looks really cool. I like that idea of that you have different monster characters and stuff. You know, like that's a big thing with Warhammer that separates it from like a different, just a different, what would it be called? Like historical strategy game. Like it just is in that fantasy realm. So I'm always game for that. The visuals don't bother me as much, but like completely see where you're coming from. Like just that smoothing effect. They're in between like that pixel art and like non-pixel art, and it's just like make up your mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like everything I've seen looks really cool. It has a phenomenal steelbook edition. I'm not sure if you've seen it. It looks so gorgeous. Yeah, definitely look that one up. It looks really sweet, and like all of like that concept art, it looks phenomenal for me. So there's a lot of sweet stuff in this, but unfortunately, it's just not enough time. Just gotta be retired or something.
Let's bring this pull up that up. The viewers at home.
Look at that. The one on the far left
here?
there. Oh yeah, that one works, I guess, too.
Yeah, these
just
are very nice.
Isn't that nice? I
if
love
only the
that
game
art
looked
style.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's too
Exactly.
like I like the environments, and like zoomed out, it looks. Actually zoomed out, it's not as bad as expecting, but just some of these images when you really zoom in.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't like some of this weird pixel art stuff.
Yeah, 100%. I like the effects of like the spells and stuff going off. It looks really epic and just just very powerful, but not the best looking game. I like that idea of just so many different characters and like different classes
look at this.
and stuff.
Like you get a wizard, you get an octopus character.
Yeah.
You got like a dragon, a mini dragon character, some like lizard-like guys, like what is it? Like
yeah.
Griffin
Ninja
or something.
Turtle. Look at that just
cool
Jack
stuff.
dude on the far right too in the middle. That's just
oh
like
my
the
god,
Juggernaut.
yeah. Looks like a troll. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it just looks so cool. Okay, I gotta stop looking at this or I'll buy
Yeah.
the game.
Yeah.
Maybe I will pick that one up. We'll see. Okay, a couple more here. You mentioned Warhammer. Warhammer 40K Dark Tide is coming out November 30th. This is how would you describe it? It's like it's first-person shooter, kind of Doom-like.
It like so Vermintide, which
it's in that Vermintide
is already
sphere,
out.
right?
I compare that one to like Left 4 Dead. How like you go through like these sequences against like the PvE. Like there's just so many mobs, and then there'll be like the special units that come out. So it's very much like the Left 4 Dead vibe. I think again you got like 4 allies that you're going through it with. You can have AI bots or like actual friends playing online together. So and this is like in the 40K universe. So I think I brought it up before, but like Vermintide, that's set in the Warhammer fantasy universe, so it's all about like the high fantasy with magic and stuff, and this one is like space marines, and I'm not really interested in that world, so I really don't know anything about like the lore elements, but I have a friend who's like similar route to me, like he's only really played the fantasy stuff, but he still is just really vibing with this concept. He loved Vermintide so much, and Left 4 Dead as well, like he loves those types of games. Back for Blood, I believe he hopped on there for that one. So he's very much looking forward to this one. For me, I'm just not too interested in like the universe, but I could still see this being phenomenal, especially since it's like a 2022 version. So you would imagine that the systems are just a little bit more updated from what the Vermintide would be. So yeah, and like again, just more Warhammer IPs coming out. I'm all for it. I think it's I don't know, like I was gonna say it's like one of the, I wasn't going to say lesser known, but just like less talked about like IPs, but it definitely has its fan base out there. So I don't want to, discount it by any means, because it definitely has its fan base out there, but just getting more content of it is awesome.
It's cool to kind of have these parallel running things where you have the fantasy side and like the far future, and it's all within that same brand, and they can kind of share genres, but then they have like these different settings. I think that's, I mean, one, it's cool for fans. But yeah, I think that also it allows them to like spread their roots out more and grab some different audiences. So it's pretty cool. This one, like this one looks really awesome to me. Not to say the other Warhammers don't, but to me it's cool that there's like different entry points into the series as well, into that world.
They got RTS games. I think they even had like an MMO at some point too. And of course, there's like the tabletop version. Like there's so many entry points, right? Like if I'm not interested in a strategy game, I can play a game like this. So that's awesome. And I believe too with like fantasy Warhammer, they've actually like just completely killed it. Like that's why they introduced like the end times like plot that just like it's like their Armageddon. It just ended the world. And unfortunately, I believe that had something to do with like licensing reasons. Like they wanted to like copyright like orcs, and they just didn't get it. So they're like, hey, we're just killing like this universe. I don't know. I haven't like deep dive like research into it, but now for like the fantasy stuff, I believe it's called the Age of Sigmar, and that's like the new world that came out of the apocalypse. And I'm just not interested in that because I got so attached to like the fantasy stuff. So unfortunately, we probably won't be getting any like new material for that. I believe Warhammer 3 Total War, like that kind of just is now encompassing. Yeah, like it's encompassing the end times era stuff, because like that's where the forces of chaos are coming from. So we just won't get any new stuff. Fortunately for me, I'm able to just take the material that's already been made and kind of formulate my own headcanon. I just kind of disregard a lot of end time stuff because I just don't like the way that they just like they wrote certain characters so differently from the way that they've already been like told, just to like end a storyline, and it leaves a sour taste in my mouth with that stuff. But I still have it, it's all make believe, so make your own headcanon if it bothers you. But I believe so all their focus going forward was like this Age of Sigmar stuff, and then mostly the 40K realm with the Space Marines, which is cool, but it's just it's not really for me.
Yep. Fair enough.
There's a little Warhammer history for you there.
No, that's cool. It's such an interesting. I like at some point I know I'm gonna jump in, and I feel like I'll just get lost in it,
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna fall to like the bottom of the cave and I'll have to work my way out by playing all of these different games in the series, jumping into fantasy, jumping into
There's so many good
fiction.
books too for it as well.
Oh no, don't tell me that now. I'm stuck over there too. When are we gonna get all these movies? Where are the Warhammer movies at? I feel like
they should do them.
Okay, and then the last one on our list here was the Callisto Protocol coming December 2nd. So this is the game that is very much Dead Spacey from the people who made the original Dead Space, who have gone off and making their own thing. So I'm picking this one up. I'm very much looking forward to it. Not really a Dead Space guy, but I love the look of this game. I've always wanted to play those ones. And that's a good point for me to jump in. A nice kind of last game of the year, too. I mean, High on Life comes out after this, but that's Game Pass, so I look at it a bit differently. But yeah, December 2nd, Callisto Protocol. I'm picking this up. Travis might be. It sounds like he's kind of on the edge. I doubt Taylor is, but you can look forward to a review in some way. Kirklin, any chance you join us on this? This is a game you're picking up? Maybe a little past that busy fall season, maybe you want one more game to come out in the year, that kind of thing?
Maybe. I'll never say never. I really appreciated Dead Space. Unfortunately, I wasn't really able to play it too much because it just scared the shit out of me as a young kid. Like, I remember like really liking the idea of it and jumping in and then getting to a point I'm like, I physically can't move forward with my character. I'm so scared to go in this little
I hear you. Yeah.
this little area here. So who knows? I'm a little bit older now, maybe a little bit more confident. I can jump back in there. I'm very much looking forward to like the Dead Space remake though. So we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll just have my focus too much on that and just wait to see some reviews and whatnot that comes on this, because like the stills are terrifying. They're definitely getting that tone down where it just that space being so isolated in space. I feel like that's something that makes the Alien movies so fantastic, right? Is that they just nail that. You're just so isolated. You're so fragile compared to your enemy. You're just so fucked. So, and that's absolutely terrifying. So I don't know. We'll see what happens around that time.
Sounds good. I'll just quickly show it. There's 3 other games on my personal list that I have my eye out for, but these do not have official dates yet. That is Season, Somerville, and Planet of Lana. So you can look into those if anyone's curious. But those are kind of 3 indie games I have on my list that I'm looking forward to as well. So hopefully those come out. I'd like to play those. But yeah, looking like a pretty good end of the year, I'd say. Definitely not as dense as I'd say your normal fall. We did get a lot of those delays, as I mentioned, but I still think that's a ton of really solid stuff. And it sounds like no matter what platform you're into, whether it's indie games, AAA, whether you're an Xbox or a PlayStation guy or Nintendo, you're going to have a lot of stuff to look forward to. So very exciting times, and yeah, we'll even have more to break down a week from now as we get 2 more showcases at least showing off some more things. So any closing thoughts here, Kirklin, before we close out today?
I don't think so. That was fun breaking down some fall preview. That was a good little episode today. I liked it.
Yeah, it was a bit quieter on the news front, and I was like, what can we talk about? Well, now's a good time to kind of recalibrate. What can we look forward to for the end of the year? So there you go, everyone. Like I said, check out later this week as we will be covering the Disney Marvel showcase. Very much looking forward to that. And then the Ubisoft one just a couple days after, and maybe Nintendo a few days after that. So we'll be very busy first half of September here. But thank you, everyone, for listening. We will see you again next time. Later.
Bye-bye.